So, Daniel Naroditsky versus Kramnik. I mean, I'm sure we've all been catching up on the drama. But aside from the drama, if we're actually looking at the chess, well, the chess speaks for itself, right, guys? Vlad, Daniel. These guys have played 35 games against each other on chess.com. Daniel has won 18, Vladimir has won 9, and they've drawn 8. So at the moment, Daniel is winning. I'm not on anyone's team. Within these games, there's been games where they've both played 99.4% accuracy within 91 moves. Although it kind of ended up like this, and it wasn't very entertaining of a game. They've had games where they've drawn in as little as 5 moves. Draw. I think it's because he mouse slipped his king. And they've also had games like this one that I'm about to show you. I've been through pretty much every single one of their games now, and this is probably the most interesting game that I found. Let's go through it. We're going to watch it from Daniel's perspective because we don't choose sides here, okay? So, Kramnik plays e4. Daniel responds with the Sicilian. Kramnik, knight f3, Daniel d6. And they go into a variation where they trade the pawn in the center. The knight recaptures, knight f6, knight c3, a6 to prevent the knights and the bishop from getting to that square there on b5. Bishop e3 from Kramnik. This is all book theory at this point. This has been played millions of times before. Daniel goes e5 and the knight retreats. Bishop e6 from Daniel, just developing the bishop. Kramnik goes h3 to once again kind of mirror him, stop these developing pieces. Bishop e7, developing the bishop. Queen f3, developing the queen. You might be thinking, why are you bringing the queen out? It's okay, because every other piece has kind of been developed apart from this one bishop. So it's fine to bring the queen here because there's no jumping squares and the queen isn't in any threat. And also, it's a book move. Castles, and the first move out of the book theory, long castles from Kramnik. I like that move. If you long castle in a position, it normally means you're going for an attack. Let's see what Kramnik does. However, it's not Kramnik that launches an attack. It's Daniel. B5. Ooh, the pawns are icky as sailing, bruv. You know what I mean? They're sailing, dude. G4 from Kramnik. Look at this attack. On both sides of the board, both of the pawns have an attack. It's kind of like a mirrored position with knights on this side, bishops on this side, pawns. It's kind of nice. I kind of like this. It's kind of funky, dude. Daniel doesn't care about this whole side of the board, so he just goes B4. Before you know it, man's in the position. Kramnik has to move his knight. Where's he going to go? He can't really go back here because that's very passive, and the engine does not like this move. And if the engine doesn't like it, bloody call it off, bro. You know what I mean? So he goes forward, which is actually the best move. Bait in black to maybe take. If he takes with the bishop, that's not very good because you're giving away your bishop for no reason. And also, when he recaptures, this is a very strong pawn. So Daniel takes with the knight. And now if he recaptures, he could just drop back and it's fine. Kramnik develops his last piece and goes bishop d3. Just keeping some eye on the diag here. Maybe he wants to bring his queen over at one point and maybe checkmate. Man's literally the strongest grandmaster, dude. Daniel doesn't care about any of this stuff going on here again. And he just goes a5. Like, he's just casually just launching the pawns forward. I mean, Stockfish says, you know what, bruv? I don't think I agree with you, but I don't think Kramnik or Daniel really care about Stockfish. It's literally all Kramnik cares about. Kramnik jumps his knight back to get out of the danger of potentially an a4 push. Maybe looking a bit dangerous. But Daniel doesn't care and he just goes a4. I mean, look at this attack that's forming on this side of the board. I mean, the engine doesn't seem to like it, but like, we like it. Look at this. Look at the pawns. I love it when the pawns fly up the board. Kramnik goes for checkmate. Because Daniel is 200 rated and he's going to forget about this. White kind of lost their advantage after that move. Engine just wants c4. Just to remain solid, maybe there's some pressure on this pawn. Maybe there's a jump at one point. Maybe this is coming in. Daniel responds with f5, which is a nice move because if he takes, then he's getting hit with this. So Kramnik doesn't take. He moves his queen over, which is the best move. Nice move. Daniel plays knight to a6, which is a great move because if he just does like a lazy move, like something like c8, which is the second engine move, then this sort of move is coming in. And then there's forks and there's danger and this pawn's probably falling at one point. And it's just looking better for white. Look at the attack. And also, if he doesn't move this, say queen plays something like that, then this piece is looking kind of trapped. It doesn't really have anywhere to go. The queen's best move now is down here. It feels like the queen is in some danger there, but it's actually kind of safe. Like, you can't really attack it because you just take the rook. You can't really move this because you just take this. So it is kind of safe there, but I guess Kramnik didn't want to go into any of that, so he just took off the knight. Daniel recaptures, and then Kramnik takes on f5. It's a mistake, because taking on f5 at this stage didn't work. And that's because he now doesn't have his light squared bishop to back this up. Engine wanted the bishop to take at one point, keeping this pawn here and keeping this solid. This file is cool, but it means nothing because this diagonal was better. Daniel recaptures the pawn on f5 with his bishop. Black's king is completely safe. Like, there's no attack from white. All of his pieces are scattered everywhere. Whereas black kind of has a little bit of coordination now. So Kramnik notices this, and he just goes king b1. Just moving out of the threat, but also moving into the line of the diagonal. So Engine doesn't like that move. My brain doesn't like that move. Kramnik, what are you doing? Like, just generally in life, what are you doing? I'm a world champion of 5 years, Ryan. You are. You're better than me at chess, to be fair. But are you better at football? No. Who's the GOAT of football, guys? Leave a comment below. Not me and Kramnik. Messi or Ronaldo. Daniel goes queen to c7. Aligning this threat, so now the bishop can take. Kramnik sees the threat and he goes for a queen trade. Daniel avoids the queen trade, which is a good move because the attack is so good for black. And if he just traded off the queens, kind of diffuses the position bit and it kind of goes back to a drawish position. And then I felt like a very high level move here from Kramnik. Kramnik goes queen e2, which is like a nice move. Just like retreating his queen, keeping an eye on this rook, maybe keeping an eye on this side of the board. It's kind of like a defensive, but like a strong move. I like that. But he's still got dangers here, so he has to be careful. This pawn's still sitting here as well. Daniel once again goes for the attack with rook to c8. Now this threat is on again. Kramnik defends it with rook c1. And then Daniel goes rook a5. Maybe he's trying to double up here. I mean, what's he trying to do here? Maybe he's double up and then pushing the pawn. He's also attacking this pawn here. I mean, Daniel clearly wants to double up his rooks. Actually going back here was actually the better move. Doubling up this way. And also it offers the knight to jump into this square, which Kramnik straight away does. Daniel queen b5, x-raying the queen here. So if this moves at any point, then the queen is gone. And also maybe now this is now a threat. Kramnik plays an interesting move here. He plays queen f3, which is an interesting move because now the queen has been on f3 at 2 points in the game. If you remember at the start in this position, where it's a drawn position, and now in this position, 20 moves later, and it's not a drawn position. But that's actually a clever move because it offers a trade. So if Daniel takes the knight on c4, then Kramnik just takes the bishop on f5, and it's like a trade. Kramnik's even up a pawn here, but Kramnik is completely losing due to the activity of these pieces. Look at the engine. The engine's like, ah! So finally, we'll be waiting for this pawn push for the entire game. A3 is inbound. What do you do in this position? Like, you need to defend. This pawn is going to be pushed. As soon as this pawn takes, it's mate on A2. So Kramnik has to do something here, right? So he plays queen to D3. Best move is actually B3, which is crazy, right? Because it allows this. And then white would go check, queen H8, and then you have to sack your queen if you want to stay in the game, because that's the only thing that gets it off of this square. And then you have to launch the pawn forward. And then maybe white is surviving a little bit. And now the killer blow from Daniel. Pawn takes. And the thing about this position is if queen takes, you can take with a check first and then recapture afterwards. So you lose an entire rook. And if queen doesn't take here, then it's just mate. So in this position, Kramnik just resigns. Kind of a bonkers game. I like it that Daniel played super aggressive, and I like it that Kramnik played super aggressive. It was like a both aggressive game. But I guess Daniel's pawns on the AB files were just too much in the end, and they won him the game. Daniel played 95.7% and Kramnik played 85.9%. If you've got time for one more game, this game is 11 moves long. This is like a 30-second game. This is the most recent game that Daniel and Kramnik have played. Daniel is white and Kramnik is black. D4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, bishop f4, pawn c5, knight f3, pawn e6, e3, bishop d7, mistake, because now Daniel has boom, the knight's jumping in. If he takes, he gives up his bishop pair for no reason. He does take. Daniel recaptures. Kramnik blocks with the knight. Daniel plays c4. C-pawn takes d. Daniel castles. Doesn't recapture yet. Pawn recaptures again, which is an inaccuracy because now Daniel has boom. Fantastic move. Point being that if he takes now, white now has e5, which is a nice move. If you go back, this is inbound. If you try and defend, then we just take. And if you take, then we take. And then this is looking a bit dodged. Kramnik just recaptures the pawn with his pawn. But at this point, it's kind of too late because this is kind of a losing position out of the opening. Because Daniel plays knight e5 and Kramnik just resigns. 11 moves in. Kind of bonkers. At this point, Kramnik probably started writing his first report. Hey, something is suspicious, you know, something here is, let's do the procedure. And yeah, that's the games, guys. And in this game, Daniel played 98.3% and Kramnik played 88.3%. I don't think the percents are really anything to go off, because if we look at the accuracy of all of their games, like they both play 99% a lot of the time. Yeah. But that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Have a good day. Thank you so much for watching these videos, and see you next time. Bye.